You ever have one of those days? You know the ones. You're busy from the second you start to the second you finish. But when you finally look up, you can't point to a single meaningful thing you actually got done. It's this super frustrating and honestly way too common feeling. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and uncover the simple shift that separates feeling busy from actually making progress. It's the classic question, right? Where did the day go? You were definitely working. Your to-do list might even have a few things crossed off. But that deep, satisfying feeling of accomplishment, it's just not there. It feels like the hours just evaporated, and you're left wondering, what do I really have to show for all that effort? And see, this is what makes it so tricky. You were doing things. You were answering messages, you were on calls, you were putting out all those little fires that pop up. The problem isn't that you weren't trying. The problem is that we've kind of been taught to believe that being busy is the same thing as making progress. And that right there is where things go wrong. All right, so this brings us to the absolute core of the issue, what we call the busyness trap. It's that huge gap between all the activity we perform and the real progress we're desperate to make. Understanding this difference, well, that's the first step to getting out of the trap for good. Yeah, and this slide just nails it. On the left, you've got busy. It's all about reacting. It's like you're a pinball just bouncing from one email to the next meeting to the next demand. But on the right, you have progress, and that's proactive. That's you intentionally driving towards a specific destination. It seems like a small distinction, but trust me, getting this changes the whole game. So the big question is, why do we get so stuck in this trap? Well, it usually comes down to 5 really common patterns that keep us spinning our wheels instead of actually moving down the road. So let's get into it and break them down. First up, and this one is huge, if you don't have a crystal clear definition of what forward even is, your brain just defaults to activity. It's a defense mechanism, really. When we don't know what the goal is, we just start doing anything to feel productive. We're working, sure, but we're not actually working towards a finish line. And this is such a perfect example. Work on the website is so vague, right? That could go on forever. But finish homepage layout? That is a concrete, definable step. You know when it's done, it's an actual outcome. This kind of clarity is what turns that fuzzy busyness into real, tangible progress. Okay, trap number 2, the illusion that you can have a bunch of top priorities. We think having 5 big projects makes us look ambitious, but what it really means is we have 0 priorities. Our focus is shattered, our energy is spread way too thin, and we end up making a tiny bit of progress in 5 different directions instead of making real headway in one. And reason number 3 is what I call the focus tax. I mean, this slide says it all, doesn't it? Task, then a message, then a call, back to a task, then an idea, oh, an interruption. Every single time you switch like that, your brain has to pay this little mental tax to reload all the information for the new thing. You do that all day, and you've spent most of your energy just switching, not actually doing the work. Now, this next one is super sneaky. It's when we confuse preparing for work with doing work. We can spend all day organizing, planning, making spreadsheets, and it feels productive, right? But unless that planning leads to an actual decision or an action that changes something, it's just a really sophisticated form of procrastination. It's motion, not movement. And finally, if you never hit pause to ask yourself, hey, am I actually moving forward? You'll just keep repeating the same busy patterns over and over. You have to have a feedback loop. Without that little moment of honest reflection, busyness just becomes normal. It becomes the default. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, but here's the good news. Escaping the trap isn't about finding more hours in the day or just trying harder. It's about changing your entire approach. So let's shift gears and talk about the 4 key principles for turning all that activity into real, tangible movement. So here it is, the big mindset shift. The goal is to stop measuring your day by how much activity you crammed in and start measuring it by how much movement you actually created. It's a simple idea, but it changes absolutely everything about how you see your day. And here's your toolkit. These are the 4 principles that are going to help you make that shift. They seem almost too simple, but they are powerful. 1. Define one real outcome. 2. Work long enough to feel momentum. 3. Reduce your active projects. And 4. End the day with one simple question. Let's dig in. It all starts with the power of 1. Before the day's chaos even has a chance to begin, you need to define the single most important thing you need to move forward. Not the 5 most important things, not 3. Just one. This one thing becomes your compass for the entire day. It guides every decision you make about where to put your precious time and energy.
Next, you have to fiercely protect your time so you can build momentum. You see, real progress isn't built in those little 5-minute bursts between meetings. No way. It's built in solid 60 to 90-minute blocks of deep, uninterrupted focus on one thing. That's where you actually change the state of a project and feel things start to move.
And this brings us back to that all-important reflection loop. At the end of your day, before you close your laptop, just ask this simple, honest question. What actually moved today? And if the answer is kind of fuzzy or even, nothing, that's not a failure. That is crucial information you can use to adjust and make tomorrow better. So when you start to put all these pieces together, it points to a kind of hidden truth about productivity and what it actually takes to get things done. It turns out, what we think we need is often not what we need at all. For most of us, the solution isn't more time in the day or just being more disciplined. What we really desperately need are these 4 things: much clearer outcomes, way fewer priorities, a lot less switching between tasks, and just more honest feedback with ourselves about what's actually working. And this quote right here is really the heart of this entire idea. I'm going to read it because it's that important. Progress is not about doing more. It's about doing the right thing long enough to actually change something. It's all about depth, not just breadth of activity. So I'll leave you with the one question that can really change everything. Before you dive back into your inbox or your next call, just pause for a second and ask yourself this. Protect that answer with everything you've got, and that's when you'll stop just being busy and you'll actually start moving forward.